Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Matrix. Now, today I want to talk about modern day idolatry. This came up this last weekend. I have a friend whose husband just came home and said, you know what? We need to spice up our marriage. And all of a sudden, he wants to introduce new partners to their marriage. And she comes to church and she said, I don't understand this. What is happening? Now, for a lot of people, this may come as a shock, but just like I told her, you need to ask yourself whether this is a marriage that was consecrated or whether it was formed under true love, under God, or whether this was a marriage of convenience. A lot of people are got married or have gotten married for resources, to be able to pay bills and to survive. And this is where you usually find one person follows God, the other person is of the world, and they just don't align. They're not equally yoked. And so in modern day, we are finding that when people are troubled in their marriages, they are going out into the world and trying to problem solve based on worldly advice. Because he came and said, my business partners, all the people that I work with when we travel, this is what they have been doing, and it spiced up their marriages. And really what it is, this is a spirit of confusion. And unfortunately, for most people are living behind closed doors, have submitted to spirit of confusion. And they don't understand that this is actually demonic. It will never bring you closer to God. And then we went ahead and then I met my son and he said, well, all over social media, there's a lot of trauma bragging. Young people are talking about their anxieties, their trauma, they are talking their truth. And I said, yes, talk your truth, but you also need to understand that you must remove these spirits from your life. You must evict these false altars that you have created for your trauma. So if you're always talking about your trauma and how afflicted you are, it just means that you have created an altar, an idol. You've made them an idol in your life. And what you need to do from a spiritual perspective, you need to dethrone. You need to dethrone the trauma. You need to dethrone the wounds. When you are wounded, you operate from a place of woundedness. And there's nothing as dangerous as taking on the identity of your anxiety. I worked in corporate America for decades, and the biggest thing was most of the women were always on Xanax, and the men were taking Adderall. Apparently, Adderall makes you perform way better. Then as years went by, people are now caught up in the mushroom, in the ayahuasca retreats, where you go take mushrooms and it opens a new dimension in your mind and things are revealed to you. But all these are not being done under God, as the Spirit of God. These are all just false altars that are being set out there for people who are seeking spiritual clarity and people who are seeking God. They're seeking peace, but they're looking for it in all the wrong places. And this is all because people do not know God. People do not know God, yet they are suffering every single day. And God has to be invited in your life. So when we see women, they come on social media, they're always showing their body. And the more DMs they get, the more desirable they feel. But really, what is the spirit in them? You shall know them by their fruit. So if a woman is showing this beautiful body and wants to be desired for her body, what is the fruit? What is her fruit? What is the spirit that she embodies? That becomes the question, but a lot of people don't ask that because all these things have now been normalized into culture. And it seems okay to desire somebody because of their body. And yet what you're doing is just you're worshiping the flesh. Then we have women who are having children with men who are having all these children all over the place with different partners. These men are not seeking to get married or be with one person, but these women are willing to give up their own true self-love and submit to a spirit of confusion, all because they get a Cartier bracelet as a push present. They get a Birkin as a push present. It's all materialistic. So women are willing to sow seed with somebody who brings a spirit of confusion. And that spirit of confusion, unfortunately, also passes on to your children. You are creating curses with the choices that you're making. And what has become clear is that people are becoming so numb to God. And the reason why they're becoming so numb is mainly because they do not know God. And I don't blame them, because churches have failed us too. Because churches have become, most people start churches now and we see it's about making themselves wealthy. It's about making themselves, it's to propel themselves in the material world. And so there is no really a true altar where a tabernacle, any altar where you can go and get your soul saved. A lot of places it's just about materialism and what people want. And so a lot of people are just feeling lost. They don't even trust religion. And pain and suffering is a doorway. It can lead you to more sin and accepting demonic influences into your life, or it can lead you to God. I know a lot of people who have abandoned God because of the pain they have, because of the suffering they have gone through. And a lot have actually come back and said, if God loved me so much, why did I have to endure so much pain? But it is in that pain, in that suffering, where you meet God. Sometimes God has to strip everything so that you can hear Him. I own a real estate business. This is where the hustle culture, where there's so much performance. There's performance in business. Do, chase those leads. And really what it comes down to is you are so self-reliant, you don't give God time to work in your life. So sometimes He has to strip you, He has to take away all these things. When you lean on your own understanding, things are going to fall apart. You're going to burn yourself out. You keep bragging about your trauma. There is nothing about you that ever talks about God. You never go to God. You never talk to Him. You never repent. Your vessel, this vessel, is just operating, sending wounded signals, trauma signals, pain signals, and you continue attracting the same pain. You continue attracting the same people, that which you are. If you're fueled with anger, here, then you will keep attracting angry people towards you. And this is why most people cannot understand why their dating life has become so painful. And I'm like, because God is trying to redeem you. God is trying to call you to Him so that you can finally attract the right person you are meant to attract. People think it's just about raising vibration. You know, and I'm like, well, how can you raise vibration when you're busy trauma bragging? When you're busy talking about your pain? How can you raise your vibration when everything in you is so wounded? You've never forgiven. You have a father wound. You have a mother wound. You have generational wounds that have been passed on to you. Because the people who gave birth to you were wounded. So they raised you from a wounded place. The previous generation, your entire bloodline is wounded. And yet you've never taken the time to say, oh, I need to get rid of this. I need to break all these false covenants, all these agreements that were made for my destiny way before I came on this earth. You are not your trauma. That is not your identity. God is holy. And you also have to realize that some of the things that are happening in your life is because you do not know God, which is why you don't have the reverence for God. Because if you did know God, you would understand why other people, why the rest of the world has been seeking God for generations. So I just want to take a moment and read from Ephesians just to show you our cultural, spiritual warfare that is going on and give you the biblical language for it, just so that you can have an understanding and a foundation. This Ephesians 4 is actually the foundational message that confronts cultural ignorance and spiritual blindness. And it's always relevant, especially at a time where confusion is being celebrated as truth. Confusion is not truth. Truth is actually being rejected in our culture. Ephesians 4:17-19, now this I say and testify in the Lord, that you must no longer walk as Gentiles do, in the futility of their minds. They are darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God because of their ignorance that is in them, due to their hardness of heart. They have become callous and have given themselves up to sensuality, greed to practice every kind of impurity. What you need to do is you need to tear down all these altars of self-reliance, idols, money, where you think running a business is about chasing. It is not the work of your hands. It is the spirit that runs through you. Some people work so hard and yet they have such great reversals, they end up filing for bankruptcy. Some people, God has given them so much. And people will say, oh, you can see they were living beyond their means. But it's really, they do not have, their spirit somewhere is about wastage. It's inherited from previous generations where they just have money, waste it, spend it any kind of way and go broke. So what you're experiencing is a spiritual warfare. And if you're experiencing pain or you're at the threshold, pain is a threshold. Pain will take you either into the darkness or into the light. If you are experiencing, you're at a threshold where confusion wants to enter your home and it's going to pass on to your next generations, you need to stop it. And sometimes Not everybody needs to get divorced, but you need to get on your knees and you need to repent and you need to pray for your families and your partner so that the spirit of confusion can pass them and not come into your own home. So I hope this message resonates, and feel free to reach out if you need to have individual session. I do give those as well, but do not let life overtake you in its confusion. Break down the altars, burn them, and come back to God. Have a blessed week.